Ash, just wait. Just wait till I tell you. Okay. No, just wait. Thanks. Greetings from Haiti. You know, when I visit with some of you and you ask what it is that we do and why we do that, the scriptures that we read this morning, and check out Romans chapter 12, 3 through 8 later today if you have time. We're going to be a little bit respectful of the time because we're running a little bit behind this morning. But check that out and read that along with the scripture that Joe read this morning, Matthew 25, 34 through 40. And Jesus says, when you do these things, to the least of these, you do these things to me. Our brothers and sisters from Haiti are extremely grateful and humbled that we would come and visit them and encourage them and try to help them in some small way to make a better life for themselves. And we can't do that just because we're kind of going over on the plane and doing some of those things. We collectively do that as a body, and we thank you for that. We thank you, first of all, and foremost and most important, for the prayers that you have given to both us as we traveled to Haiti, as well as to our brothers and sisters that were there that joined us and that were able to join us and be with us and fellowship with us in worship. Some of the things that you need to be kind of aware of, some statistics that I wanted to share with you before we kind of get started in a few slides here. The eyeglass clinic was, we talked about this, I think, a couple weeks ago, but it was for 3 days, and we were able to see 710 patients. And out of those, 210, or basically right at 30%, had prescription glasses that were given to them. And out of those, we also had 200 to 300 what I call cheaters or readers that some of us need. That I'll be maybe using a little bit here, but you know what I mean, to kind of help us see some of the things that get a little foggy as we get older. We also gave out 900 pairs plus of sunglasses. It's very dry and dusty at different times of the year there, and the dust can really be very bothersome and affect eyesight in a negative way. So that's a real important feature that we were able to bless them with. The eyeglass supplies and the costs that were involved were as follows. The supplies, of course, were sunglasses, the readers or cheaters, prescription glasses, insurance on what's called the autorefractor. And the autorefractor was 2 of those. Leanne and Dan were operating those, where they actually were checking the eyes of the patients that came through. We had to ship those overseas to Miami, and from Miami they were shipped to Haiti. We got whacked with a little customs fee as we were coming into the country, and the baggage was extra, translators and so on. The total cost for all those items was a little over $5,700, close to $6,000. We had some sewing supplies that we were a little short on that we also had to come up with a little over $500 for that. In addition to that, the personal expenses that we as travelers had to come up with were, of course, our airfare, room and board, the generator, one of 3 that we had during the trip that was there with gas, drinking water, and translators. Ashley, when you're ready. So those are just some things to kind of run down to give you a little bit about what some of our costs were. What you're looking at now in the next couple of pictures here is just kind of us getting on the plane, it looks like, heading home and going. See, I'm already corrected. Yes. So anyway, we just kind of threw that in there, I guess. Some other pictures. You just keep scrolling. Okay.
That's our house.
Yeah, all right, that's our house. Okay. My wife tells me I'm not supposed to talk. I'm just supposed to let you look at the pictures. And then Ashley's telling me what to say, so just bear with me up here as we kind of fumble through things. So, yeah, that was it was pretty brutal inside worship Sunday morning. A little toasty in there. Had the fans cranking, mainly towards us because we were little sissies. They were used to it. All right. This next couple of slides that we're going to show you, this is kind of a before picture of what we call a church that we were working on when we were there. And just before we do anything else, Ashley, there were 10 of us and 7 Haitians that worked on the church, which was, you're about to see, that was cement block. I think we loaded off a truck, probably 6,000 or 7,000, 8,000 blocks, one at a time, off a truck to the job site, which was a lot of fun in that nice warm heat. And then we had basically several tons of sand, of concrete, of stone, and we had hundreds and hundreds of gallons of water. And we mixed that concrete, made mortar out of it for the blocks, and then we would make also concrete itself for a little bit of help with some foundation work. So that's kind of what you're about to see here as we go through and show you some more slides. This is like, I think, kind of a staging in day 1, day 2 kind of a thing. The next one, as we go through here, you see the wall starts to kind of come alive a little bit. And then those rebar that you see up there, those are all done basically by hand with, we make like a little assembly line of the rebar is there, but we have to somehow intertwine it inside the wall. You can see one of the guys working on the wall there. And these are some forms that we put up. We poured actually the concrete to basically build a little bit of a foundation on top, one on top of another, for the next series of blocks. The church itself is about 3,000 square feet. It will actually serve as a church and a school for the village where we were working. And again, some forms around the curve there. And I think this next one is kind of a picture. You can see in that kind of that left corner there. We're up to about 10 feet when we left. We started out at pretty much ground level. That's just a picture of us as we were, kind of finished up that last day. We took a picture. Next, we're going to hear from a couple of our sisters who wanted to share some of the experiences that they had. I think first up is Cora. I believe there's like a full moon out on a sunny day. I don't know what's going on, but every time, and now we got that, so I don't know what that is, but okay. All right. So, Katrina.
Hello. I'm not really one for speaking in front of people, but last night when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to say, I made a list of stories I could tell, and I was like, how much can I fit into just a few minutes? Because there's so much that can be told, but there's a few stories that definitely stuck out to me. There's the older lady the first day of the eyeglass clinic that I don't think me or Ashley will ever forget. We were at the station where they come to us after they've been tested with a little receipt with like the top 5 glasses that are best for their prescription, and we find them. We have them try them on and see which one works best for them, which is not as easy as it sounds. And we had kind of figured out this like sign language, facial expression thing to kind of communicate with them. And it worked pretty well with the younger generation, but the older generation just kind of looked at us like we were crazy. So for this particular lady, we pulled over one of the translators, and we had tried on multiple pairs, and she kept saying, like, I can't see, none of them are working. And the last pair that we had, we put them on her, and she smiled, and her eyes got big, and she said something in Creole, and our translator laughed and told us that she said, "Praise Jesus, I can see." And it's little things like that it's really, really amazing experience to be there when somebody sees clearly for the first time. And then kind of a similar situation the third day. We had another older lady who we tried multiple pairs and none of them worked for her. So Dan Curry brought me over 2 lenses and one of the Harry Potter frames, which is what we used in Honduras. So basically you have to screw these tiny little screws in to hold the frames in. And that was my job in Honduras, and I never had so many issues in Honduras as I did with this one pair of glasses. It took both me and Sandy to put them together in like 30 minutes. My hands wouldn't stay dry long enough from sweat to be able to get the tiny screws in, and I was frustrated. But once we finally got them together and she put them on and she just started looking around the room and her eyes got big, it really makes it all worth it. It's just a really, really cool thing to see.
Is that her?
Yes. And there's so many other things I could tell you from the eyeglass clinics, from me and Ashley getting swarmed by mobs of children for sunglasses, to multiple older people who didn't know how to read, but they still wanted some reading glasses so that they could look at their Bible. You know, and I'm bad myself about reading my Bible every day, but they just wanted to be able to look at it and see it clearly. So that really, really made an impact on me. And then the orphanage. We weren't going to be able to actually paint the orphanage because all the fines that we had to pay, but we took up a little collection and we got the paint. And one of the main things that stood out to me there was something that I saw written on one of the walls. A kid had written it with a crayon, and I took a picture of it. You know, here we're always, you know, wanting to get the next best thing, whether it's clothes or a house or food or a phone or anything like that. And these kids, or anybody there, they don't know where their next meal is going to come from. These kids, they don't have parents. Everything that they own fits in a small bag that fits in a dresser that they all share. And I had to have Will Hagerman translate some of it from French, but they wrote on the wall, "Master, Lord, the Son of God. God is King. God is the only judge. Life is good, the best. Thank you, and God is good." And, you know, that, it really gets to you. It really makes you think kind of, what am I doing with my life? What am I doing with myself? When they are so thankful for what little that they have. And then my last thing, if you know me, you know how much I love little kids. So just being at the orphanage and being able to interact with them and hang out with them while we painted was so much fun. And when we were painting, a little boy came up and tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hablas español?" And I did not expect any of them to speak Spanish. And if you didn't know, I have my minor in Spanish from Harding. So it was so cool to be able to talk to and have a real conversation with one of the kids there. We took a picture together, and he kept asking me for a copy of it, and I kept telling him, like, I have no idea how I'm going to get that to you. Like, I can't print one out here. But I found a way to make it happen, so I'm really excited for him to get that. And as we were leaving that night, he gave me a hug and told me that he would pray for all of us. And so I just think that's really, really neat, you know, that this little 11-year-old boy who doesn't have parents, doesn't really have anything, you know, he thought to pray for us here. So that's it.
Play a video of the clinic.
Okay, Ashley's going to play a video of the chaos of the eyeglass clinic.
The video quality isn't very great, but you can at least hear it, I think, if it works right. Nope. Well, it worked in my office. Okay, never mind. No video.
Okay,
Cord is up.
All right. When we first got to the orphanage, oh, it's not loud. I'm not loud enough, really, for once. Okay. We pulled up, and we're in this van that we've supposedly certainly fit like 8 people. So we get out, and all the kids are there in their uniforms, and the kids wear these either orange or blue plaid uniforms. So they're all really cute, actually, very clean. And Lukener had all of them come up to us and give us a kiss on the cheek and say good morning, which was very cute. And then after they gave us all hugs and kisses, they piled into the van. This van only holds 8 people. There was like 25 of these little kids. And they just, when you look at them, it was like they were so excited to get in this van. And we're all like, why are you so excited to get in this van? But if you were there, you would understand why. The littlest things, they just find the biggest excitement in. in this orphanage, as you can see, they had to pull all their stuff out of the orphanage and take it in the backyard. And for, was it 2 nights probably, they slept outside, and we were praying that it wasn't going to rain because they said it was going to rain that night, and we're all at the house wondering, oh my gosh, I hope it doesn't rain because all their stuff's going to get rained on. But it held out. So it took us 2 days to paint this orphanage. Luke and her wanted us to paint a lot more than we had planned for, because as you can see, that ceiling is black from the lanterns they use. And one of the ladies from Freeport spent probably like an hour trying to clean that ceiling. It wasn't happening. We were able to paint some of the ceilings. I painted one of them. It was pretty hard because it was so tall and the thing kept falling off the pole. It hit me in the head one of the times. But we did as much as we possibly can. And when Freeport went, they actually spent almost a whole week painting this place. We got it done in 2 days, but took them a week. So we worked really hard to get this done. And there was kids that came and that were there while we were painting, and we were kind of thinking, oh my gosh, they're going to get in the way. We're not going to be able to get this done. But they didn't. They actually wanted to help, and they did a great job helping us. A couple of them helped out. Like Katrina said, these kids just are very grateful for what they have, and they don't complain. And we're there thinking, oh my gosh, this is horrible, but they find excitement in any little thing, like the crayons and the coloring books we gave them. Gave them some Frisbees, and when they were outside playing Frisbee, and Chris was trying to teach them how to bounce it off the ground and hit it up, and they were trying really hard, but they had a lot of fun doing that. It's amazing what the kids appreciate and hear. You know, a kid gets a coloring book here, they're like, yeah, whoop-de ding dong. Or stickers even at that. These kids were coming back trying to take more stickers, and, you know, we kind of had to put them away because we only had so many. But you really appreciate what you don't have until it's gone or not there for you to choose from. And even just in the food we got, you know, it was very basic, and you just got to appreciate what you have because they have nothing, and not complain and be concerned that there's not electricity or there's not running water. But it's very much of an eye-opener when you go over to these other countries and see what they don't have, and they're still happy people. The interpreter that was with us, Guda, she actually was in the States at age 14 and got deported after she had gotten married a second time. Her first husband deported her, and she was actually pregnant at the time and had 2 other children. And she's been back in Haiti for 10 years trying to get back to America to her husband and her 2 other kids and grandson, or granddaughter that she does have. And yet she never complained. She was just doing everything she possibly can to make the Haitian people appreciate what we were giving them. So she was a lovely lady, and I hope and pray that she makes it back here to be with her husband and her kids. But it was a very good experience, and I appreciate for everyone's help that helped get the people, get us to get there. So thank you.
Okay, I'm just going to talk really, really briefly about kind of life in Cap Haitian and just what we would experience on our drives from where we were living to where we were going every day. You can go to the next one. So for those of us who have been to Honduras, you're out in the country up in the mountains, and so you're not really getting much of city life. There isn't much city life, really. And so you're just in very calm, peaceful, serene places that are just very poor. And that is not what Cap Haitian is. Cap Haitian is the size of Freeport, approximately, with somewhere between 1 and 2 million people living there. So there are just people and buildings and vehicles just everywhere you turn. It is an assault on the senses, and then when we came back to the States, the the lack of noise and people everywhere was actually very hard for me, at least, to get back used to. We'd gotten used to all the crazy loud crowdedness, and then just driving down the street in my neighborhood, I was almost overwhelmed with the quiet. In the bottom left, bottom left of this picture, you can see a bunch of people standing in line. They're actually standing in line at a water source in town. They walked from wherever they lived in the city. They brought their buckets with them, and they just stood in line waiting for their turn to pump. Not clean water, just water. None of the water is very clean. Okay, you can go to the next one. And these are your stores. You can see at the top there's a furniture store just sitting on the side of the road. There's a shoe store with shoes all over the sidewalk and the walls. This one right here is a television store. It's a bunch of old TVs. And then on the side here, you've got actually solar panels, which I thought was pretty cool because I like clean energy. You can go to the next one. This was the most impressive thing I saw. Those women, each of those carton of those layers of eggs is about 49 eggs. So that woman's got like 200 eggs on her head, just walking as fast as I would walk down the street and less likely to trip than I am. And then they would just have these giant tubs of stuff, and it could be anything from bricks to cleaning equipment to food to their dishes. It was amazing how they would carry stuff. And then the next one. And this is just probably the thing that's the most overwhelming is the beauty of this country. It is beautiful. Everywhere you turn, it is some of the most beautiful country you've ever seen. And then you just turn your head the other direction, and there are piles and piles and piles of trash because they do not have they don't have waste management. They don't have working electricity all the time. They don't have reliable plumbing. And so it's just, and this is, Haiti has two capital cities, Port-au-Prince and Cap-Haïtien. This is one of their capital cities that doesn't have reliable ways to keep things clean. And so it just makes you appreciate so much the infrastructure that we have in the United States to make sure our garbage is taken away every Friday and to make sure our plumbing is always working, and the only time our electricity goes out if it's a really bad storm. And there are people that go out and spend their lives giving us electricity back almost as soon as it goes out. So just the no matter how much our government can be really screwy sometimes, they're working, generally speaking, to keep us safe and provided for. And this is what it looks like when you don't have a government that's trying to do that for its people. So, so that's one of the things that is just repeatedly overwhelming, is how these people are living in a situation that they don't have to. That's not, we have the advances in this world in 2017 that they don't have to live like this, but they are forced to live like this. And so I would just ask you all to pray for the people who are running that country to stop trying to oppress their people. And the other thing that I just want to say real quickly is the number of people who have said to me and to lots of us that, they could never do this. They could never go on a trip like that. They could never. There were a couple nights where we slept outside because we didn't have air conditioning, and they were like, I don't think I could do that. You don't have to, because we can. That's why God gave us each other, and he gave everybody different talents and different abilities in different seasons of life where they can do things that we can all do things that other people can't. And what we're called to do is to do what we can and to support everyone doing everything. So I just want to say thank you. I think the majority of us hardly spent a dime on this trip of our own money, and that's because of you guys and your ability to support us, because maybe you can't go on a trip like this, but you'll allow me to. And if I could go back tomorrow, I would. And if I could go back next month, I would, and the next month, and the next month. So just whenever you want to send me, let me know, I'll go. All right, Chris.
I just want to read a letter from Brenda before we close, with Stan giving us some announcements. Brenda couldn't be here today, and even if she was, I don't think she'd read this, she said. Dear brothers and sisters, I first want to thank all of you for supporting our mission trip to Haiti. We couldn't have done it without you. And to those of you who supported me individually, thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving me the opportunity to be a part of one of the most awesome experiences of my life. I truly cannot thank you enough. When we arrived in Campeche, it was noisy, dirty, crowded, and hot. As we drove, I remember leaning over to Dave and asking, what do they have to look forward to? There were people everywhere, walking the street, sitting in the doorways of their homes, businesses, and riding bunches and bunches of motorcycles or crammed in tap-taps. I often wonder where they were going and for what purpose, as it's my understanding there aren't a lot of jobs in Haiti. They are busy, though. I didn't see any street people or homeless looking type people like we have here. Everyone I saw looked clean and nicely dressed. Just because the garbage and the heat and the island and lack of money made me imagine people without hope. Until we got to church the next morning, there was hope. God our Father. For me, it was incredibly cool to worship with brothers and sisters of Christ in Haiti. Their enthusiasm rhythm was so catchy, and their love for Jesus was obvious on their faces and in their actions. I loved being there. Then came the eyeglass clinics. Whoa. Setting up for them was a very hot and tedious job, but seeing the people lined up and waiting was exciting. There was never a downtime except when we took a lunch break. Everyone left with at least sunglasses, many with readers or prescription glasses. To see people smile when things became visually clear for them was heartwarming. To see Dan work with some that had especially difficult visual issues and be able to make a pair of glasses for them was inspiring. And to see him praying with a man that he couldn't help was humbling. What I saw those 3 days was hope and love. And then we painted the orphanage that Luckner supports. That's the day my heart really got tugged when the kids got home from school. I saw one little plastic truck and one container of bubbles. We didn't see any toys. That's just how it should be. But it isn't. And when I mentally began doing the toy drive, I realized they needed many other things besides toys, which is probably why we don't have them. Clothes, shoes, toothbrushes, hairbrushes, food, education, etc. Now I understand how the $20 to $30 a month to support a child in a poor country actually could do that. For now, though, I'm hoping to do a shoe collection to send them in a few months. So parents, don't give or throw away those gently used shoes your children have outgrown. We did pass out coloring pages and crayons. It was unbelievable how quickly these kids sat down and started carefully coloring. Children of all ages, including teens. We were at the orphanage and went to share dinner that night, and again I saw hope and love. I saw hope and love again when we visited the plumbing and the sewing schools. Probably 50 people were crammed tightly into a fairly small hot room for each of those classes. But they are willing to be uncomfortable because these classes give them hope for a better life. We as a congregation contribute to that hope, and I pray that we will continue to do that even more than we already have. We have so much, they have so little. Thank you.